For my summary on what I've learned about communication, it is the chapters 3 and 4 about it. And prior going in this class, I felt like that I had a good understanding of like communication and how to communicate with people. But I worked this summer from people with different cultures, like different backgrounds, and I thought I had a lot of, I guess, experience with communication. But taking this class kind of shows me that the history of communication have not always is not what I thought of it was. So like when Aristotle came up with ethos, logos, and pathos, I didn't know that, and I've used that before in prior English classes and things of that sort. It's like using it on papers. Like you have a paragraph about ethos, a paragraph about logos, and a paragraph about pathos. And I didn't really think about it in a communication standpoint, but more of like a writing standpoint, which is a form of communication. And then I also have learned that I thought I knew this, but I kind of thought about it more deeply whenever I seen it in the chapters. Is there's multiple ways to communicate. You can communicate verbally, you can communicate nonverbal, like by body language or expression, like eye contact. So like maybe in a group project, if someone kind of came up, you say an idea, and then someone else were to say like, I'm fine with whatever, but their body language is off, you could see that it's like they don't really want to do that. They're just agreeing because they don't want to speak up and say anything. So I think that's another thing that I've learned about communication, is that it's not always words. It's also facial expression, like tone of voice, or accent. Then the next thing is it's universal, but it's also shaped by culture. So like if somebody from say overseas, like Europe, they might take things differently than if I were to say something to them. They would take it differently than someone here in America. And I think that I have a pretty good understanding of that because, like I said, my background I worked this summer with people from all sorts of backgrounds, and I've kind of realized that not always people are going to communicate the same as us. And I think that communication is one of the oldest and most important human skills because of being able to communicate with each other. I've also learned that paying attention to both history of communication and the way we use verbal cues today, I can make myself a better communicator. And then another thing is that I think that words do mean a lot, but like actions, like the way you express yourself by facial expressions, tone of voice, I think that has a big part in communication. And I think I've realized that more from the chapters that we've read so far through the online book. And I also feel like that people communicating, that's like the most important human skill, because if you can't express yourself, like you have to be able to say I'm hungry, which there's different ways to say I'm hungry. Like someone who is, say, a mute person, they're gonna point at something that they want because that's their form of communication. If you have no form of communication, I feel like there's not a way that you can express yourself, and you have to be able to express yourself. And yeah, that's all I've learned from chapters 3 and 4.